Hello, everybody, and welcome to the PHLY Eagles podcast on a Monday, presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app and use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Just another Cyber Monday, ZB. Check out the PHLY locker, and now is your chance. 36 hours to get $36 a year to become a diehard. Read Zach Berman's 2 stories from Baltimore, Fran Duffy's breakdowns over the course of the week, Les Bowen's analysis, Charlie O'Connor on the Flyers, Kyle Neubeck and Derek Bodner on the Sixers. All good stuff. All you're stealing at $36 a year. You're taking food off of Zach Berman's family's table, but now is a chance to do it. Cyber Monday, get it going. Zach, how you doing?
Doing great. Excited for the show. Sorry it's not in person, but thrilled to be here virtually with you. And it's Cyber Monday, so it makes sense that we're doing this virtually, right?
You and I better cyber on a Cyber Monday. You know what I mean?
I don't know what you mean, but this is the day after, and back in the day,
I look like Robert De Niro when I do that.
That's a compliment. De Niro's had a good career.
Okay.
But so much to discuss. I spent a lot of time during the past 13 hours now thinking about that game, and it's just more impressive the more you think about it. I did not see that coming. I had the Ravens winning. Teams don't do that to Baltimore in Baltimore, and I think I saw your headline that you put for this show, and it's not a stretch. It is not a stretch to think that this team is capable of making it into New Orleans for the Super Bowl. They're one of the 5 teams in the NFL who I would say have real legit aspirations to be there.
No doubt about it. And as you reflected on the game, Zach, what was the most impressive part of it to you?
You start off with the defense. Again, I don't want to echo the same thing we've been saying all year, repeat the same thing we've been saying all year, but you had a framing back when they hired Vic Fangio that I thought was apt, which was this raises the baseline more than the ceiling, right? This gives you a competent defense. If you said to me best case scenario for the season, what would it be on defense? Number 1 defense in the NFL would not have crossed my mind.
10th, I would have thought was best case scenario.
Not with this personnel. And I was listening. I did not listen last night. I listened today to the show from yesterday and to the postgame show. Great show. And Fran going through all the numbers and showing how this isn't a mirage. And when you compare it to defenses of the past, this isn't based on playing backup quarterbacks or something of that nature. The Eagles did this to an offense that had been on one of the best offenses in recent NFL history when Lamar's been on the field. The yards they put up, the efficiency that they play with, the points, and no one does this to the Ravens, especially in Baltimore. And so that's the first thing I was impressed with. And then the other thing that jumps out.
Let's stick on the defense. Yeah. Hold that thought, because it's hard to overstate just how good the defense is playing since the bye, and I know that's a bit of a arbitrary benchmark, but there's reason to believe that they addressed some things. It's also when Cooper DeJean entered the lineup. Since the bye, it has been 8 games now, so that's a half of a season. Over this half season, the Eagles are number 1 in the league in yards allowed per game at 241. Number 1 in the league in yards allowed per play, 4.1. Number 1 in the league. This is surprising in sacks per pass attempt. The pass rush is getting home. They're second in defensive EPA per drive. They're number 1 in yards allowed per pass attempt. They're number 1 in points allowed per drive. And so I wanted to know, I'm looking back, like, if you're just looking at half season sample sizes, how does this stack up with like the defenses of the past decade? And, you can look at slightly different things, but they are in the conversation for one of the best like half season defenses in the past decade. There are teams like, frankly, the 2017 Eagles had a stretch there. But as you talk about that stretch in the middle of the season for that Eagles defense, they were feasting on bad quarterbacks. Like that was a little bit different. The 2019 Niners are in there. Actually, last year's Jets are in there. Oddly, last year's Dolphins had a midseason stretch under Vic Fangio where they were among the best in the past decade, and then they went and played Lamar Jackson, and it fell off a cliff after that. But the level that they are playing, it's so impressive, and it's so impressive in so many different ways. I mean, they're doing it without key guys. Like Slay misses the game yesterday. They don't miss a beat. And for Eagles fans and for us who have followed Howie Roseman's defensive template, they are doing it in such a different way. We have talked about this is a defense that does feel built back to front as opposed to front to back, which is how it has always been under Howie Roseman, even though they have all these resources on the defensive line. The strength of this team is its back seven. But also beyond that, like the rotation, and we'll get to Jalen Carter because he's been unbelievable. But like to play that game with just 3 pass rushers, playing against Lamar Jackson, this guy who's going to wear down defensive lines more than any other quarterback in the league because you have to play every snap a little bit longer, and they all have juice until the end of the game. Like the play personality they play with, it's so fun to watch, and it's why you can be patient with the offense when it's not firing on all cylinders, because this defense will keep them in every game, no matter what, no matter who is on the other sideline.
Well said. And it's not as if you can point to this elite player, although Jalen Carter has been playing at a incredibly high level, but it's not as if they're a star-studded defense.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. Like, remember in 2022, like 7 guys on the defense went to the Pro Bowl, right? Like, I mean, Jalen Carter should go to the Pro Bowl. Zack Baun might go to the Pro Bowl. Like Quinyon might, but probably not. He's not going to have the intercept. Like that might be. They might just have 2 guys.
And then it's not as if they're doing it with, like a 15, 20 sack guy, right? It's not as if they have someone leading the league in takeaways or something of that nature. In a certain respect, and I say this, I say this with all due respect, like they are like a meat and potatoes defense in that what do? They tackle well. They play their assignments well.
It's a little bit too big for my head.
You see, the problem, Bo, when we do the virtual show is you're so fixated on how you look on camera.
It's true.
You should just be looking at me in the eyes when I speak here, right?
You'd rather watch the whole thing.
But I was on Anthony's show today talking about it, and it's they play their assignments well. They play well together. They populate. They populate to the ball. That's one thing that I hear repeatedly in the locker room.
You like that verb populate? I saw you had that in the story as well.
Yeah, well, that comes directly from the players. Populate to the ball, and toughness and physicality. Those are intangible characteristics. Like you can't. There's no stat that says you're X tough or you're X physical, right? But it's evident when you watch it. And I think there's the manner in which they play jumps to mind. But the reality too, I keep going back to the sound tackling because they were not tackling well earlier this year. There were games when they were missing tackles, and they are tackling much better now. And in particular, yesterday they had open field tackles that I thought were the difference between the Ravens extending drives and the Ravens punting. And so I don't mean to bring up third down defense as like a polarizing thing here, but like when you make a stop on third down and you force the team to punt, it changes so much. And there were times when the Ravens were in the open field and Eagles made that stop, and that's part of the identity of this defense.
Yeah, they're so fun to watch. Now let's talk about Jalen Carter.
Yes.
Because Jimmy Kempski has a nice thread out right now on just some of the highlight plays from Jalen Carter in this game, and there are a lot of them, and I'm sure that Fran will have more on allphly.com on that front. Jalen Carter has already played, Zach, 57 more snaps than he did all of last season.
Mm-hmm.
That's like 2 games worth of snaps for a defensive tackle, and that's in 12 games. He played 16 last year. He has played the 3rd most snaps per game of any defensive tackle in the league this season. over the last 3 weeks, right? He's playing like 98% of the snaps, and he's playing at such a high level. And it is both. I thought that Jamie did a good job pointing this out on the postgame show last night. There are the splash plays. There are like the football nerdy plays where he's taking on a double team and setting up stuff, like the Nolan Smith sack is a good example of that. And there are also, for a guy who is playing as many snaps as he is playing, there are some really impressive effort plays out of Jalen Carter that are, you talk about like you want your best players to play the hardest. Jalen Carter is absolutely doing that. He is. I thought the first half of the season he was a little bit up and down and was a little bit of a disappointment relative to my expectations preseason, because my expectations in training camp were that he was going to be in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year. The second half of the season, he has been that level of player. He has been absolutely awesome, and I just kudos to him. He's been unbelievable.
Yeah, and I go back to the spring. First time we spoke to Clint Hurt and Vic. So Clint Hurt, for those who don't know, is the Eagles defensive line coach. Vic Fangio. And when Jalen Carter's name came up, the thing they kept harping on was conditioning.
Yeah.
And speaking to Jalen Carter about what he was working on during the offseason, conditioning. And then you see the Eagles during the summer. And we speak to Nick Sirianni in about an hour. And this is a question I'm going to ask Nick. Conditioning was a major point of emphasis. The first press conference we had, now you weren't asking about defensive. The first question, the first press conference of the summer, you asked Howie Roseman about rotation, because Vic Fangio hasn't been known to rotate, and that might have been more edge rusher, but D lineman in there too, because Christian Wilkins last year, you were talking about that, right?
Yeah.
And so this is coming to life. You're seeing that here,
and it is funny because when the coaches were talking about it, it was a tandem. It was Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, Jordan Davis's snaps have not gone up because he has not earned that equity with the coaching staff. But Jalen Carter, he couldn't. And it's funny because he's one of those guys where, he doesn't look like Victor Abiamiri. Okay, when he takes his shirt off and you see
random
the shots of the locker room, right? He is not like body Adonis, this guy, but he's just like, this guy was born to play football. He's like an unbelievable football player, and like the strength that he has, where it comes from. But like the fact that he is this well conditioned is, frankly, like, given the pre-draft scouting reports and stuff like that, I don't know. I don't think shocking is the right thing to say, but it's extremely impressive.
Yeah, somewhere in Baltimore, Maryland right now, like Victor Abiamiri's wife is getting a message like they're talking about your husband shirtless on an Eagles podcast. That's just such a random reference, but I hear you. I hear what you mean there, and you're right. And it's the effort plays that also that jump out. Like, obviously the ability to play all those snaps, or the fact that he is conditioned and playing at a high level throughout the game. But if you recall some of the college scouting reports, and you never know what to put into anonymous scouting reports, but one thing that was called into question was like the effort, the want to on plays. And the Eagles, to their credit, like behind the scenes, they said they didn't find that to be an issue, right? But Jamie was talking about it on yesterday's show when he was talking about a play in the fourth quarter when Jalen Carter, chases them down for a big loss, right? And the game wasn't necessarily out of hand at that point, but it wasn't a play that, Jalen Carter like needed to make it at that time, but he does. And you just see the effort plays that he has. I'm curious what the GPS data says about him, because he is running all over the place. There are times when, it's evident to me, like watching in front of me, not even watching the film back, but the double teams that he's taking on. I had a nice conversation, brief one, last week with Milton Williams, and it brought me back to Connor Barwin in 2014, when Connor Barwin was talking about like the benefit of playing next to Fletcher Cox. And Milton Williams is like, yeah, if they want to play Jalen that way, then I'm going to eat. And you saw Milton have those 2 sacks against the Rams. And then actually yesterday, Jalen said that was due to the play Milton had. So that's actually kind of been a real good tandem in the pass rushing game. But you're absolutely right. And I keep referring to the show from yesterday because it's fresh in my mind. Like that's the last thing I heard. It's kind of like the person who like goes into the room to make a decision, and then the last person to encounter him is like put the seed in his head. So all your conversations are like fresh in my mind from yesterday's show.
Are you willing to do the Cooper DeJean?
Well, I still need to see it back. Like I saw a YouTube comment that's like, Zach's such a bore. You got to understand when that happened, I didn't like, I saw it, I saw it from a distance. I didn't watch the replay back.
Well, that's not why you didn't do it. You were able to see what we were doing on the show. You could have just copied us.
Yeah, but I still need to make, I don't want to just put this on the internet without me practicing it, training it, making sure I'm not crazy.
So if you're going to do it, that means if you do it, then we will know that you have practiced it in front of the mirror.
Not practiced it. That's not the term I would use. More just like making sure that it's not something that will be held against me in any way. That it won't be a drop somewhere.
To protect against something that might be held against you when you know that there are going to be 1,000 other things that are going to be held against you anyway. Like, why waste your time?
That's true. You kind of feel like an athlete who is getting reported on when you do this show sometimes. Like, you can't control what the reporter writes about you. You can give the quotes, but you can't. So like I say something on here and then I never know how it's going to be framed. In any event, I mean, the conversation you guys were having about him being an all-pro player, and again, I'm obsessed with the Eagles every week. I'm not watching all 32 teams the way everyone is, or I shouldn't say everyone, the way some of the national people are. I'm reading coverage and
amen to this comment from Clark's Missing Teeth. He says, "No way is EB boring. The fish story was the best thing I've heard in years." Totally agree with that.
I appreciate that, Clark's Missing Teeth. Actually, interesting. So Clark's Missing Teeth. I'll just say this: my daughter lost her 2 front teeth recently, and they have something at school called the Clarkie, which is so now she knows all about Bobby Clark because Bobby Clark. So it's like if you
that's funny.
If you lost both your front teeth, they put your picture up as a Clarkie,
and
so we were researching Bobby Clark together, and she wanted to know all about him, and so based on him losing his or not having his front teeth. Now, fortunately, Sloan's front teeth are growing in. She knows permanent teeth, right? In any event, Jalen Carter being an all-pro player, I mean he is the best player on this defense right now. He is the player who I think opposing scouting reports are built around. Other players are the beneficiary of it, but he's just awesome right now. And I'm curious to see what December is going to look like for him, but he hasn't worn off from these snaps. Now that said, this was around the time of year last year of that Buffalo game, right? And there was a nosedive with the defense after that Buffalo game, and that Buffalo game was when everyone took a real high volume of snaps. That remains the most snaps Jalen Carter has played. So I'm going to ask Sirianni today in that press conference about how that conditioning has materialized, but we are seeing the benefits to it.
And to be fair, that is the hesitance for playing guys this many snaps. It's not even about too much in game or raising their risk of injury. It's about having them be as effective as possible down the stretch. I remember that 2017 season. Fletcher Cox was playing fewer snaps than he had, and you could easily point to, well, he's going to get to play even more in the playoffs, right? Now you could argue that the way that the Eagles' schedule is, there's a chance that if you win your next 3 games, you beat Carolina, the Steelers, and then the Commanders. You sew up the division. You got 2 games left in the regular season. There's a shot that you can pull back a little bit, but if they don't get the 1 seed, then you can't, and he's going to have to just play all the way through. So we do have to see how this plays out, but right now it is playing out very well for him. And I am open. I was looking at it too because I also was thinking about that conversation. I'm open to the possibility that he could earn all-pro status. I mean, he does need a few more sacks, I think, probably. Dexter Lawrence seems like a shoo-in. He's got 9 sacks.
But he's out now for the rest of the season, right? So there's a chance. Yeah. Yeah. So the chance to catch up. Who else is in there? Who else is in that category?
Yeah. I mean, Chris Jones by reputation is going to be in there. Zach Allen, if you
he's
count him as a defensive tackle, has been awesome. So it's possible. And it could also be like you reward the best player on what could be the best defense in football. But yeah, I mean, he's been absolutely awesome. Would you say that you are more worried about Jalen Carter's snaps or Saquon Barkley's touches?
Good question. Probably Jalen Carter's snaps, I would say.
I think so too.
Yeah. Just because like you can do things to monitor touches. I feel like snaps, like if he's not on the field, it changes so much. So,
at the same time, I mean, they're getting always 3 and outs, right? Like
exactly.
They had 4 3 and outs yesterday. Those you get those 12 snaps, that's great. So the way that as long as they're playing this well, the snaps are not terrible, I think.
And look, and I know better. I know we got to get to that, so I'll just say this real quick. I know better not to look over any teams. We saw what happened against the Cardinals last year. We saw what happened against the Giants last year. But I can't overstate this. 4 of the next 5 games are at home. 3 of them are to teams with losing records. 2 of those teams at least might be kind of cashing in their chips on the season. There is a chance for the Eagles to build up leads, and there is a chance for the Eagles to sit some of these guys in the fourth quarter of games.
All right. Let's take a quick little break before we get back and talk maybe a little bit more about the offense. It's Cyber Monday. You're making purchases. You are probably racking up the holiday bills a little bit. So where can you pull back? Where can you make up for those extra expenditures? Well, you can do it with the help of Rocket Money. Rocket Money will find any subscriptions that you forgot about or any you paid for twice and didn't realize. Can you name every single subscription that you have? Even Zach Berman probably can't name every single subscription that he has, and he's not alone. They tell us that over 74% of people have subscriptions that they've completely forgotten about. With Rocket Money, you don't have to remember every subscription or worry about forgetting any because they can see them all laid out right in front of them. Most Americans think they spend about $62 per month on subscriptions, but the real number is closer to $300. That's a big difference. So even if just a couple subscriptions fall off your radar, those recurring payments you don't even know about will really add up over time. And that's where Rocket Money comes in. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitor your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. See all of your subscriptions in one place and know exactly where your money is going. For any you don't want anymore, Rocket Money will help you cancel them with just a few taps. Rocket Money will even try to negotiate to lower your bills for you, sometimes by up to 20%. They automatically scan your bills to find opportunities to save. Then you can ask them to negotiate for you. They will deal with customer service. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's features. Stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/PHLY. That's rocketmoney.com/PHLY. rocketmoney.com/PHLY.
True story. Friday, I'm at the Eagles facility. I get a call from my son. I answer the call, and he didn't have school. And he said, Dad, how much money would it be if we put $10 on Penn State winning the national championship? This is what he asks. And I didn't know. And so I went to my Bet365 app and I looked it up. And he wanted to place the bet. Now, I don't know how smart that bet is, although Penn State's playing really well right now. But the place to turn for that is Bet365, where it's never ordinary at whatever the moment. It's never ordinary at Bet365. Bet365 has 90 million users worldwide. My 7-year-old son is not one of them. but I am one of them. Bet365 live streams 780,000 events each year. Early payout offers across NBA, NFL, NHL, and MLB. Bet365 pioneered live in-game betting. Today, Bet365 offers the widest range of games and markets available for live in-game betting across 78 sports. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Use the code PHLY365 to sign up. Deposit $10 and place a bet for $5 to get $150 in bonus bets. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, total, player props, futures, and more. I'm sorry. I just need to say this. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up to get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and physically located in PA. If you or someone if you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER.
I know we were joking about the celebration, but I did love the clip that Fran posted on social media of that play and the reaction from the sideline, anticipating the Cooper DeJean celebration. So we know that this is something that they have cooked up, and I am sure that we will get the fuller story on it in the locker room this week. But I do think it is notable. You know, everybody, I think more from a national perspective than the Eagles fans who are actually watching this team, but there is a connection to last year. And, you know, last year the Eagles had a very good record, and then we all know what happened at the end. And I know that you don't like vibes, Zach, but the vibes are so different with this team than last year's team. This team is having fun, and I do think that matters. Like they are enjoying playing for each other. And you saw that celebration on the sideline, and I thought it jumped out. That Bengals game is when it really started to turn to me, where like these guys are like in it, and they're playing with that certain kind of energy that often is correlated with the best teams in football. And obviously, you're going to have more fun when you're winning. So it's not a one-to-one thing. But I love the personality that they're playing with, especially on defense right now.
Yeah, the Gene celebration was planned. It was something that they worked up. Now I'm getting this like third hand or fourth hand, but someone told me it has something to do with the movie 8 Mile.
Yeah, I think it might be an 8 Mile, which it could just be that at like the crowd at the end of the final rap battle, like everybody's just going like this. Like, is that what it is? Okay. Maybe.
Yeah, I know. I did see that movie. Okay, and I actually watched it again. A second time. I was doing a story on Connor Barwin in 2014, and
you told the story.
Yeah, and I had to look up, and there was some 8 Mile stuff that came up in the reporting. So I did watch it again for that.
Everybody from the 313, put your mother effing hands up and follow me.
But I did not recall. I did not recall that particular dance. Now, Cooper DeJean did perform "Lose Yourself" at the rookie.
Okay.
The rookie singing before this year, so maybe it dates back to that. It could be. We'll get to it. Cooper did not want to say what it meant when I asked him about it.
Okay.
And then, like I said on the postgame show, Zack Baun didn't know what it was. He just said everyone else was doing it, and C.J. Gardner-Johnson gave me a reference that didn't quite add up, but maybe it did. He said it's like about calming down. We'll get to the bottom of it because I know fans are interested right now.
Yeah, I used to listen to the 8 Mile freestyle battles to like get ready for games in high school.
How did that work?
Well, we did win a state championship my junior year.
State championship's good. Number 8 in the country is better, but
I don't know. We don't know that.
We won a state championship too. I think we would have smoked you guys. To be honest, if I can be honest.
We'll never know. Zach.
Not smoked you guys. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll never know. We will never know. Now the difference is you had a lot to do with your team's success. I had literally very little to do with my team's success.
That's okay. You know, on any given day, who knows? Maybe we get Sean Grieve to roll over on one.
Maybe. You never know.
You never know. I could probably do most of the words to those freestyle lyrics.
Even still.
Yeah, they're pretty deeply embedded in there.
Okay, good job. Is there
Good job. I don't know if that's a flex.
Is that the song you know best? Or
No.
like the okay. Are there a lot of songs you know the lyrics to?
Yeah, there are a lot of songs I know the lyrics to.
Okay. Making music conversation.
That is the most well, not the most because you had a lot of them, but that is among the more alien visiting Earth type lines that I've heard out of you. And are there a lot of songs that you know the lyrics to?
I know the lyrics to
First
songs.
Date with ZB back in the day.
No, that did not come up. Are there a lot of songs you know the lyrics to? I never asked that on a first date. I see Joya put that in the chat. Joy's making fun of me right now.
Are you a music person?
Julia knows for a fact I am not. I'm not. I said it today on if you watched Anthony's show, VG was asking about the music in the post game locker room, like who controls it. And I said I'm not even pandering to Anthony here. When I was growing up in the car, I listened to Anthony. I listened to Anthony's show. I listened to sports. I listened to WIP growing up. Now I listen to podcasts. I listen to books on tape at times. But I was never a music guy in the car. Even now, I listen to music when my kids are in the car. They get to pick a song each, and then we'll change it. And
then wait, hold on. And then what's the rest? Like the Steve Jobs audiobook?
No. It's me asking them questions, like not having music, talking about but they each pick a song. And they each have songs that are their go-tos. And then for Reed, it was it is now I'm like 60 years old. You know, it's something about when you turn 7. Okay. Now I'm 60 years old.
Is it the 5 for Fighting song?
No. No, it's people should know what it is. It's a very popular song. He knows all the lyrics.
Okay. Does he know? Are there a lot of songs that he knows the lyrics to?
It's Lucas Graham, 7 Years.
Oh, okay.
If that makes sense. Okay. And then for Sloan, it's a song that I sing in the house that she really likes. It's Adam Sandler, Grow Old With You.
Julia's favorite movie.
Yeah, so there's like an updated version that he sings, that Adam Sandler sings at his and so I'll sing that to my in our house sometimes.
That's a great one.
Yeah, there's a lyric in there that's particularly touching, and so
lyrics.
Yeah, I know the lyrics to that one, and the Bob Dylan songs. But that's about it.
How many Bob Dylan songs do you actually know the lyrics to?
Oh, quite a bit, actually. If you recall, back in like 2020, The Athletic was doing these surveys for for internal emails, and they had to wonder if and one of the questions was like they would do interviews with each of the reporters, and one of the questions was what song lyric like describes you. And I remember like thinking real long and hard about which one to go with. I went with I actually didn't go with a Bob Dylan one. I went with Don't Worry, Be Happy, everything, yeah. So
okay.
In any event, let's get back to football. Yeah, but no, I see in the chat here, or I am very excited for the biopic on Bob Dylan. I wrote a great paper my freshman year of college on Bob Dylan, ETS 107 or 207.
I mean, you wrote a great paper.
Yeah, oh yeah, I killed that paper. I mean, that class, I was really into it. I read a book called Positively 4th Street. I just kicked this here. Dealing with a different computer camera situation here.
I am trying not to get into your computer situation because I don't know if we'll ever talk about anything else on the show if we do.
Yeah. But actually, I got an angle that works here. But yeah, I did well on that paper.
Okay. Do you think you'd be happy with your writing from? I think we've actually had this conversation before.
Mm-hmm. Do I think I'd be happy with my writing from what?
From when you were in college.
My school papers or the school newspaper?
This paper. You think you would look at that and think you were?
Oh no, but I'm saying for like a freshman year, for a freshman college essay, it was good. Like it wasn't good now. I read my articles from college sometimes, and there's much more creative flair. I took far more chances in my writing than I wasn't as good of a writer. There were more cliches. It was more, um, uh, but I did take more chances, and sometimes I feel like I need to tap into 19, 20-year-old Zach a little bit more.
Swing for the fences, baby.
Yeah, because then when I got out of college, like the taking chances thing,
newspapers, you're just
I remember it was very much like, no, don't, come on. It's like what like Howard Mudd's advice to Jason Kelsey: when in doubt, don't. Right? That's kind of what it was like at my first job out of college. It's like if you want to take that, if you're not sure if you should take that, if you're not sure if you want to take that swing, don't take that swing.
Invert that pyramid.
Yeah. Anyways, let's get back.
Let's see some of those flares.
No, maybe. Look, I had 2 stories from last night. I have another one, hopefully coming later tonight. I have another one. I have so interesting. I have a player survey piece that I'm excited to put out Wednesday, but I'm debating putting it out tomorrow because it's within that promotion. But then tomorrow we'll have Fran's piece, we'll have Les's piece. So I don't want to overpopulate the site. But also, I feel like it could be a good carrot to get people to.
That's a good idea.
All right, so put it out tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why not?
But then we wouldn't have something on Wednesday. If that's okay.
We'll figure it out.
Okay.
Question from the chat for you, Zach, from Charles, who says, "Is there an Eagles history book that you would consider the franchise to be the spiritual successor to? And if so, which book?"
Well, I will tell this story. I was sitting in this chair, speaking to the publishing company, the fine people at Triumph Books, after the Super Bowl in 2022 when the Eagles lost, and so February 2023, and we were going over some book ideas, and they actually presented what turned into the franchise to me. I had like 3 or 4 other ideas that I would pitch to them, and then when I first said it, I turned around my shoulder and I said, I have the Eagles Encyclopedia here. I can actually pull this off my shelf. So there's a few versions of it, but this was the original one. Okay. So I have the Eagles Encyclopedia. So I said, there's already been an encyclopedia. And they're like, no. This isn't going to be an encyclopedia that you're writing. This is a curated history. So it's more a collection of essays. And it's not the history of the franchise. It's from 1999 on. But yeah, so I would say the spiritual successor would be to the great work of Ray Didinger.
Big flex. Is there a place where people could take advantage of a Cyber Monday situation
for the book?
Buy the franchise?
Amazon.com would be a good place to turn. Barnes. I have a few local signings coming up. I'm in Phoenixville this weekend. I'm in Wayne next weekend. I have a few at our friends at Wheelhouse coming up. I have one at a sports bar bowling alley in Norristown on Friday night. I put that all on social, and I will say it on the show as well.
Nicely done. Making the rounds.
Yeah, I am. Yes, much to the
Wayne must be very excited.
Yeah, what's that?
I said Wayne must be very excited.
Emily's not very thrilled, but
I would imagine not.
Yeah, I don't have a weekend free for the rest of the year.
Jesus Christ. So much for no more road trips for the Eagles. I get to be home.
Yeah, she says you have to say yes to everything. She says, and I said yes, I do.
Yeah, I am, as always, Team Emily.
All right, let's get back to the Eagles here. There's going to be a YouTube comment. You guys didn't talk about the team.
Were there plays or moments from the game yesterday that you think that maybe we glossed over, whether in the post-game show or just as an Eagles collective for maybe not appreciating fully?
The Saquon run, touchdown run, you guys talked about it, but the Jordan Mailata pull back there was really good. You heard Sirianni talk about, and Saquon talk about Paris Campbell and Jahan Dotson on that run and the fact how they opened up space in terms of like running out their routes on the play there. But that was the longest run that Baltimore allowed this season, 25 yards.
Yes.
And Roquan Smith was saying after the game that like throughout most of the game they were in good spots, and then that play they had like 9 or 10 guys doing the right thing and 2 guys doing the wrong thing, and it didn't.
I thought the insight from Lane was interesting that Roquan Smith was like calling out their plays a lot throughout this game, and like he hadn't seen somebody have a beat on them that well since Luke Kuechly.
Yeah, he was. Lane was effusive in his praise. So yeah, that's a good one. That's good insight there. So that play, and then I'm glad you shouted out Braden Mann, because that's something that came up, and I mentioned this on the post-game show, and I just put a tweet out on it. But I didn't know the Eagles watch every plus 50 punt in the NFL and college every week. I mean, how much can you kind of learn from all these different from all these plus 50 punts? But the difference that Sirianni said and that players in the locker room said, and I'm sure they said it to me because Sirianni used it in his post-game speech, was the fact that the Eagles fielded their punts and the Ravens didn't. And Sirianni said there were 2 punts that gave the Eagles a combined 40 yards of field position that would not have been there had they not fielded the punts. And he said the reason why the Ravens didn't field the punts in those spots was because of the way Keely Ringo and Sidney Brown were playing as gunners. So I thought that was interesting insight, because we typically don't talk about special teams unless there's a real spectacular play or a real egregious play.
A bunch of penalties.
Yeah. But those I thought, and I talked about on Anthony's show today, and I said this on the post-game show, I thought the Eagles should have gone for that 4th down, but
I thought so too.
The game changed. I thought the game changed when they pinned them back, forced a 3 and out, and went on and scored. And I do want to go look through all the numbers of how many times teams score when they're in short fields, because Sirianni talked about how favorable that is.
On the negative side, one play that I think we actually didn't talk about on the post-game show and needed to, the Saquon fumble at the end of the game.
Yeah.
I mean, could have been disastrous. Now, they were up 9 at that point. Yeah. It was 3:44 left. So they end up getting the field goal. But if the Ravens get that ball back, they had 1 timeout left. So if they get that ball back and go down and score a touchdown, there's a chance they get the ball back. They're probably still going onside kick. But, when Saquon is touching the ball as often as he is, eventually he's going to fumble. Obviously, he had the very costly one in the Jaguars game. There was the drop Falcons game. So whenever a guy's seeing just that high volume of touches, there are going to be some unforced errors, just statistically. But, I mean, that could have been a disastrous fumble potentially.
You're right, and it shows you when you recover fumbles, it changes the narrative quite a bit. But that's a fair point. Now, I will just
the Ravens
say,
had 3 fumbles themselves. 2 of them, one of them, like the botched handoff one, that's one where they probably should recover it. 2 of them were of the 50-50 variety, where you would expect the Eagles to get one of those. But
you always talk about fumbles. And like a variance with fumble recoveries, and how that's not often like a sticky stat, right? And so, fortunately for the Ravens, they recovered those. Fortunately for the Eagles, they recovered the Saquon one. I just want to bring, I have this story up on allphly.com. Was the second story from yesterday, which was Saquon and Jalen, but in particular Saquon and the game that he had, and the fourth quarter numbers are really eye-popping to me. And this is the framing device I will use. If you just look at Saquon as a fourth quarter runner, take away the first 3 quarters of the game, he would still be among the top 32 rushers in the NFL. Okay. And the other thing too here is that he has 10 rushes of 25 plus yards this season. 4 of them are in the fourth quarter. So there is evidence of them wearing teams down and the benefit to that.
No doubt about it. I think the closer moniker is apt. It is a huge part of what makes them successful down the stretch. And I do think we talked about on the postgame show, the two reasons that Howie Roseman felt comfortable paying this much money for a running back were twofold. Well, the two reasons were not twofold. There were two reasons. One was the ability to turn, what was blocked into explosive plays, and two, and I think more important in their minds was, well, look at that camera work.
Yeah, I'm able to zoom out. I figured that's probably the best way to do this.
Was the 4-minute drill type situations where they struggled last year. They were really frustrated with that internally, and so being able to lean on Saquon in these situations and take advantage of their offensive line was a huge deal to them, and that is absolutely paying off. Both of them are.
You're absolutely right, and Jalen harps often on that 4-minute part, and that was Nick spoke in the locker room in his speech. We only saw like 30 seconds of the speech on Eagles from the Eagles, but it was on the 4-minute offense he really focused on.
All right, let's take a break and talk about sucking them back. Excuse me. I think I could use a little elixir for the throat right now, because a lot has changed over the years, and one thing that hasn't is the great taste of Miller Lite. Another thing that hasn't changed is that it's less filling. So what is the best thing about the original light beer? Miller Lite sparked this debate in 1975, and we still haven't settled it. Miller Lite keeps it simple, baby. Just like line them up, pound it running team. Keeping it simple. They can't stop us. We're going to keep doing it. Miller Lite has undebatable quality, great taste, and only 96 calories. It's the beer that strips away everything you don't need and holds on to what matters most. A light beer that tastes like, get this, beer. Less filling and only 96 calories. The original light beer since 1975. You don't have to choose what's best. Miller Lite has great taste and is less filling. Tastes like Miller time. To get Miller Lite delivered right to your door, visit MillerLite.com/PHLY birds. Or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories per 12 ounces. Fewer calories and carbs than premium regular beer.
I will be honest. I always like a good deal, but more than a good. But more than thanks for interrupting me there. More than a good deal, what's most important is good quality and knowing that what you're getting is a quality product. And that's why I want to talk to you today about Empire Today. Because with Empire Today, you get shop at home convenience, the right products for your needs, quick and professional installation, and a price match guarantee. Empire Today is the place to get new flooring. So, of course, they have copycats. But those copycats can't beat Empire Today on quality, service, speed. So they advertise low-quality products that Empire Today simply doesn't carry. Empire Today won't promise the lowest prices because anyone who does that is putting flooring in their home that they wouldn't put in theirs. Empire Today keeps shopping for floor simple with a curated product selection. Their philosophy is to help you find what you need, not overwhelm you with thousands of choices and substitutes. And what they leave out of their selection is as important as what they leave in. Empire's product team exhaustively combs through thousands of product samples each year to find the perfect style. And they service their own warranties too, which is good because sometimes things come up. And if an issue does arise, just call Empire. They service all warranties themselves. You don't have to track down a manufacturer's phone number. Schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use promo code PHLY. Restrictions apply. See EmpireToday.com/PHLY for details.
You wrote about Jalen Hurts in your Saquon Barkley story. Do you think that we are collectively underselling Jalen Hurts' importance to the Eagles' success over this 8-game winning streak? Nick Sirianni giving the impassioned plea that Jalen Hurts deserves to be in the MVP conversation, which to me reads more like managing the personality and knowing that he should be gassing up Jalen Hurts than truth telling.
Yeah, I'm with you there. That's my interpretation of it. Now, I don't think Jalen's costing them games, right? So it's the old thing: are they winning because of them, or are they winning with him or because of him? And I think if you want to use that term game manager, which Nick Sirianni said is BS, I think Jalen's making winning plays when he needs to. He's not turning the ball over, right? I mean, Nick talked about quarterback rating. I don't think quarterback rating suggests MVP, but during this 8-game winning streak, he is the 4th best quarterback rating in the NFL. And yeah, I look at it. I asked Jalen the other day about wins and losses and stats and playing up the standard. And his response was every other stat that you point to is subjective. Like the merit of stat X or stat Y or stat Z is subjective. It depends who you ask. The thing that's cut and dry is winning. And winning is not, a quarterback stat, but there is something to be said about being in the winner's circle every week. And Jalen, throughout his career in college, in the NFL, now he played with really good players in college. He played with really good players in the NFL, right? But I think Jalen, I don't want to quote Nick and say Jalen's a winner but I was going to say you don't know how to quantify that. You literally can't quantify that. But I think it's more Jalen, since the bye especially, is playing within himself, is playing within the offense, is not getting in the way of things. There are throws that he can make, but I give credit for Jalen totally buying into the way they're playing, or at least seemingly so. And then I would also say I believe Jalen when he says like winning is what motivates him, and I do think that is where his head is at.
Yeah, I'm a little bit unmoved by he's a winner.
Sure, I figured you would be.
Win.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
Joe Burrow is an awfully good quarterback, and they're not winning, right? And he's making great plays. Now, Nick's point is that the Eagles haven't had to pass late in games, and there is something to that, right? Stats tend to be inflated. Stats tend to be inflated when you're throwing the ball in the fourth quarter. He hasn't had to. Now, he can be more efficient sometimes early in games for sure, especially early in the first quarter. Where we're seeing that, but. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a coincidence that Jalen wins a lot of football games. I'll put it that way.
I think there's enough. There's a wide gap between it being coincidence and he's a winner, and there's a lot of middle ground there that is the truth. I think that Jalen Hurts, the fact that he is protecting the ball, is huge. Obviously, that was a big issue the first 4 games of the season. And for them to be able to win these tight games, he needs to do that. And I think that Nick has a point in in games like this. He's doing a lot of making the right decisions, and sometimes the right decision is to throw the ball away. I mean, when your eligible receivers are, if it's not A.J. Brown or Dallas Goedert, it's Jahan Dotson, Paris Campbell, and C.J. Uzomah, then yeah, that's probably the right decision. I also think that what he brings to the table as a runner is easy to overlook. So he deserves a lot of credit for the Eagles being 10-2. But I also think it's fair to say that the passing game is the worst part of the team right now. And how much you want to put on his shoulders is up to you. But that is true.
Are you worried about the passing game though? Because I'm not, and that's the thing. I've said this before. I think there's a chance the defense can regress, right? But I got to think that the passing game is gonna show progress. When you have A.J. Brown, and you have Devontae Smith. Now we'll see Dallas Goedert.
I think it has to be better when Devontae gets back, right?
Or just throwing A.J. more. Like A.J. at halftime had 5 catches. He didn't have a catch, and A.J.'s so good, and. I'm watching. They were coming toward me in the second quarter, and every time AJ had Nate Wiggins on him, I'm just like, throw it to AJ here. That's my guy, Nate Wiggins, right? But I'm like, throw it to AJ here. He's gonna win this matchup, and this isn't like baseball where you're due up at a certain time. you can throw it to him every play if you want to, right? So I would keep feeding it to AJ Brown. That slant is money, and I mean, I don't mean to be the Madden coach who calls the same play over and over again, but teams aren't stopping it.
Yeah, I'm surprised that they didn't throw it to AJ more yesterday. It seemed like that was a missed opportunity. I'm curious to hear what Fran says about the game plan. They also, I mean, frankly, didn't have that many opportunities. Like, they had 6 plays in the third quarter and went 3 and out both times before they then had the touchdown drive on the Saquon touchdown. And then at that point, you're trying to run out the game. It is notable that we are not seeing Jalen Hurts throw deep quite as much as he did last season. Last year, he attempted the most passes of any quarterback in the league, of 25 yards or more downfield. This year, he's down at like 10th or 12th on that. I have the numbers here somewhere. It was like 3.2 per game last year. This year, it's down at 2.3, which is the lowest of his career. His air yards per attempt are the lowest of his career at 8.0, which is very close to what it was in 2022, which was 8.1. This is one of the surprising things of like they're not doing those one shot a game to Quez Watkins type plays, right? Which was we sort of thought Jahan Dotson was here for in part. And I do think that the longer this goes on, where the Eagles have played games without either AJ Brown or Devontae Smith, and Jahan Dotson is completely absent from the offense still, we don't need to wallow in negativity for a team that's 10-2 and looks like a Super Bowl contender. But the Jahan Dotson trade is looking like it may be like arguably the worst trade of Howie Roseman's career, value wise.
Yeah, I think it's still early
gets to be here for another year, but
sure, exactly. But I mean, I would say Golden Tate would probably, or Robert Quinn would be worse than that. Robert Quinn was a 4th round pick. Golden Tate was a 3rd round pick for a half a year. So they're going to have Jahan Dotson for a full year next year. I think that goes into the calculus. Honestly, I would say Jannard Avery was the worst trade that he made.
Yeah, but even that was a 5th, right? Or
4th.
Yeah, I don't know. A 3rd round pick is a real pick.
Yeah, that's what they gave for Tate.
Yeah, at least Tate got a game-winning
Tate gave them 8 games.
Playoff game.
Jahan Dotson's going to give them 2 years.
But Tate also, I mean, I know part of their calculus was Tate was going to give him a comp pick. Like, I don't know what kind of comp pick they're going to get for Jahan Dotson.
Yeah, but I mean, there's still a whole nother year for
yeah,
Dotson.
That's what I'm saying. But like, if next year is like this year, then it's pretty bad.
True. Yeah. I mean, again, I get we do a show every day. I'm not going to kill them on, the day after. And
I'm saying we don't need to wallow in it. I'm just saying, like, it looks like an awful trade.
It's not working out so far. I agree. And look, because exactly what's happened to make it relevant to the Ravens game, we spoke about when they traded Dotson. It's not just getting a 3rd receiver; it's getting a Devontae Smith replacement or an AJ Brown replacement. That's come up multiple times this year, and he hasn't answered the bell in those regards.
Okay. Anything else on the offense that you would like to discuss?
No, I'm curious to see what Fran sees on film. We'll see the status of Dallas Goedert, but really, those are kind of my big. I think Saquon, the offensive line, and feed the ball to AJ Brown.
Khalif is on top of it, man. He knows when that 259 hits, it's time to say thank you to the television viewers for checking us out, and make sure that you check out the rest of the episode on allphly.com. Julia, can I bring you in for a second? Uh-oh.
Hello,
Julia. Are we able to play the thing? Okay. Yes. Now, Zach, we haven't talked about Nolan Smith yet. Nolan Smith, fantastic game yesterday as his snap counts continue to rise. What a second-year ascent it has been for Nolan Smith. And if you just wind the clock back to the night that Nolan Smith was drafted, a big moment in this show's and its iterations history. And I know that Zach, you're reading every comment. I know that you know that this was coming. So we have to circle back now.
Sure.
Given the transactions league-wide to 2023 draft night.
Yeah. The Commanders make a terrible pick. Emmanuel Forbes, your boy.
That's not a terrible pick. Yeah.
I mean, on a night when the Lions took Jahmyr Gibbs at 12, Jack Campbell at 18, a bunch of other questionable picks, Emmanuel Forbes at 16 is the worst pick of the night.
Your Emmanuel Forbes thing is like, sure, he intercepts passes and breaks up passes at an elite rate, but he's 17 pounds lighter than your prototype. So therefore, do
you know 17 pounds is a lot of pounds?
Do you
He's
watch
also
did you watch him play?
I watched him play, and I thought that he was one of the worst corners I've ever seen.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And his interceptions were guys just dropping balls right into his lap. He's going to be bad.
Wait, was it the 12th, the 11th? It was the 11th, the 12th, the 13th, or the 14th? Like, I'm curious.
He made one really nice play. One.
Your boy, Christian Gonzalez. Went 3 years without catching another quarterback's pass. Emmanuel Forbes, he had Emmanuel Forbes.
Let's make a bet tonight.
Wait. No, I just want to give this stat for you. Emmanuel Forbes returned more interceptions for touchdowns than Christian Gonzalez and Joey Porter have interceptions combined. Okay.
If Emmanuel Forbes goes to a Pro Bowl, I will
buckle in. This goes on.
We got Nick. He can cover.
I don't know.
Cover. He has ball skills.
He can't cover.
He can cover. What he can't do,
and he can't tackle.
What he can't. Yeah, he's not a great tackler. Okay, I will grant you that. But you know what you are? You're the guy who
to take him at 16 to not even move around, like that's really bad. What can we bet on here on Emmanuel Forbes? I think we need to go on the record here. Let's put some.
I'm not saying he's going to be a Pro Bowl player. I'm saying if
he ever makes a Pro Bowl, I will give $500 to your favorite charity.
Really?
If out of the league within 6 years, then you will do the same for me.
I mean, I would really have to look at the data of like how. I mean, 6 players don't usually. First round picks don't get six year, and there could be injury. Like he could.
You're telling me this guy's elite.
Poor Marissa.
You don't feel good enough about the 16th overall pick that he's going to last in the league for 6 years?
Oh, he could tear his Achilles in the first practice and be done.
Okay,
right? Like so yeah. I'm not. I would need to look at more data to answer that question. But
come on, go on the line.
Look at Bo walking in $500. His betting threshold is he's pulling up.
Yeah, but in future money. So it's
what like, BetMGMs are. I was about to say a different place. I shouldn't say that. Bo just randomly pulls up BetMGMs, putting $500 down on props. Let's see. I can't do 6 years in the league. How many players make it? Because how many players make it 6 years in the league?
16th overall picks should absolutely. You're telling me it's a good pick. If it's a good pick, he should be in the league for 6 years.
I said he's a good player. I wouldn't have taken him 16th overall, but I think he's a good player. You have such a distaste for him because he's 17 pounds below your prototype.
That is so many pounds.
Okay. You know what? 14 interceptions is so many interceptions.
No, not the ones I've seen.
6 pick sixes are so many pick sixes.
No. He's UGLY. He ain't got no alibi.
I will agree to a bet with you, but I mean the 6 year threshold. I need to look at.
Okay, what do you propose? What's a good?
Like Polar Jam saying live a little. Polar Jam, do you just go in and throw $500 down on something that you
think about inflation? 6 years from now, $500 is going to be like $40.
You are right about that. I don't think you understand inflation. That's like the Seinfeld episode where Kramer talked about write-offs, right? And Jerry's like, "Do you know what a write-off is?"
Imagine him lining up across from A.J. Brown. How do you think that's going to go?
How do I think that's
well done, Bo?
Yeah. Well, sometimes he's. I mean, if he has to tackle A.J. Brown, not very good. But if the ball doesn't get to A.J. Brown, that's.
You think he's going to stop that? Yeah. Okay. What are you gonna do? What's your proposal? What's your rebuttal?
What's my rebuttal
It's
for
for
what?
charity, as Corey Katz says.
I understand it's for charity.
I thought you had a good heart. I don't know.
I will make a bet with you. The 6-year threshold is so I don't know where that's coming from.
I'm really badgering you here.
But that seems like that seems like a reason, because it's going to be objective anyway. So we're not going to go off Bo Football Focus grades. We're not going to what do you want to do? I think that's a pretty reasonable. I think if he's not in the league 6 years from now, that's a good indication that it was a bad pick. That means I was right.
I think if he starts 50 games in the NFL.
No, you're talking about, that's like your side of the thing. That's Pro Bowl. So you're saying if he starts fewer than 50 games, I win?
Yes.
Okay.
And if he starts 50 games, because 50 games would be,
that's 3 seasons plus. No, 17. So that's actually 3 full seasons. I don't know if that's good enough for me, because Washington might just run him out there. Although I don't think he's going to start 50 games.
Yeah, I'll do. I think 50 games is pretty aggressive. There's a lot of because the thing with me is like,
I don't think he's going to start 50 games.
What's that, Zach?
Okay, but let's say this. Okay, it can't be a career-ending injury. It has to be performance related. The bet is
I don't know.
nullified.
No, because part of the deal is this guy.
The bet is void.
No, because what if he gets a career-ending injury because he got run over by A.J. Brown and he's 100 pounds? Like, that's part of the problem.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, a guy, if a player tears his Achilles in the first practice, then their chances of starting 20 games in their career is significantly lower. So I'm absorbing so much more risk than you are here.
No, you're the one who loves the guy.
All right, let's get the Nolan Smith, okay? Let's revisit. We have a whole summer to revisit Emmanuel Forbes.
No, we need to make the terms of the bet tonight. It needs to be a draft night bet. Marissa, what do you think?
I mean, I think something for charity, I'm all for, but I do think you got to give Zach a little time to maybe think this through.
Oh, come on.
But who would you rather have?
I think 50 games is fair. I mean, say to start, like he has to start 50 games, that's a lot of games.
That's a lot of games.
Yes. So I would say that's a fair wager.
All right. How about 52 games?
If you put in the injury clause, then yeah.
The injury clause. I don't know. I think the injury clause has to be part. It does not have to be part of it.
Okay, well then I will gladly make a generous donation to a charity of your choice, but this particular bet,
How about let you carve out 2 injury types. Okay, so if you want Achilles, you can have Achilles, and then you can carve out one other injury type. Otherwise, anything else counts for me.
Let's discuss it off air too, because we do have something in our contracts about betting on football. I want to be very careful that we're not violating.
No, this is for charity, and it's not.
Okay,
it's fine.
Okay, all right. Yeah, all right. I'll give you. Okay, I get to.
You get the Achilles, and you can call
here. Let's just yeah. Here, how about this? Let's say a non-contact injury.
Absolutely bullying.
No.
All right. Let's get on the Nolan Smith file.
No, we gotta hammer this out before we move on.
Oh, it is.
I'm holding you hostage.
Zach, my bag's starting to hurt. You need to just agree to something.
All right, 50 games.
52.
So 52, and I get 2 injuries. What you say?
Yeah, you get Achilles.
I think they should be able to be blanket injuries.
Okay, fine.
Like if you're making Zach go up to 52.
But all right. We can be subjective with the injuries, But you can't hold on to if he tears his Achilles in year 4, but he's only started 5 games. Like, it has to materially affect the arc of his career.
What about a second contract? Quinn says in the chat.
Yeah, but in Bo's defense, like first round picks often get that 1 year show me contract that some other guys get. So
Greedy Williams was second round pick, but
yeah.
All right, we have a deal.
Sure.
Do you want to make the price less, or you're okay with the charity?
I like the charity component of it.
Okay.
Yeah, I like the charity component of it.
All right. On
and he just has to make up 1 Pro Bowl.
Oh no!
We're removing the Pro Bowl. It's just the 52 games. It's just the starting whether he starts 52 games or not.
Okay.
Yes.
I think that's it. Well, okay, I feel good about that. On Friday, April 28th, the year of our Lord 2023, 3:04 a.m. Bo Wulf and Zach Berman have come to terms.
I still feel uncomfortable. I still feel uncomfortable having a. Okay, you don't need to get onto it on there. We'll bet it off there. Well, yeah, I just don't want anything that.
I don't think it's a bet.
If anybody comes to talk to us, this was just for content's sake.
Okay, yes.
It's more of a prediction. It's more of a like.
Yeah.
No, that was for the that was for the overlords.
Draft
that was
night
for
prediction,
the New York
I would
Times
say.
Company.
Okay.
I look at it like that.
Okay. So anyway,
all right.
After the
3:04 a.m. 3:04 a.m. I mean, 3:04 a.m. I had been working at that point probably an 18-hour day. I just
we actually get into that later. You got up at 5 a.m. that morning, which again on you. That's your
I just
fault.
wanted to talk about the player that the Eagles drafted. Look, we will when we're in person. I'll make a generous donation to a charity of your choice. But I just want to say this, like, I'll say this for the audience because I figured this was going to come up. I totally forgot about that bit. I was wrong about Emmanuel Forbes, absolutely, and I will own that. And the reality of this job is that when you go on record about players and you go on record about things, you're going to miss. And I own that. And by the way, if you listen to our shows over the offseason, one of the things I like to do on players that I miss on is try to figure out why. What was my blind spot here? Where did I oversee it? In my Nate Wiggins conversation, I said, I probably didn't put enough stock on the weight of Emmanuel Forbes. I look sometimes at maybe ball production is not and it is not something that carries over. 100%, I was wrong there, without a doubt, and I will own that. And you know what? I will keep making evaluations, so to speak. I mean, we have Fran; he's our guy, but I will keep talking about prospects. And some of the times I will be wrong. Sometimes I will be right, and when I'm wrong, I will own up to it. When I'm right, I probably won't mention it. Because no, like the proof is that like all you have to do is watch the Las Vegas Raiders this year and see how good Brock Bowers is. Like I don't need to go back and talk about it. I mean, there's a clip online from the my guys during the draft thing where I have this head of steam and I talk about all these different players I like, and I mean, like you can go and look at how those players are performing right now. But I was wrong about Emmanuel Forbes.
I think the takeaway is the right takeaway in the chat, which is after watching that clip, people cannot believe that you signed on for a different job to work with me somewhere else.
Yeah. It's a fair point. No, Bo's great. Bo's the best host in the city. I don't mean to cut this short. Nick Sirianni's going like a minute.
We have a very quick super chat just to get out there from Real Time with Prince Blue, who says Zach reminded teachers about pop quizzes. I don't know that I mean to be mean to my guy, but
yeah, look, I was wrong on Emmanuel Forbes. Anyone who asks, anyone who wants to put the pie in my face, I deserve it. I was wrong. And that's the reality of this. And I can't run from it. I will own it. The same thing I did on Anthony's show about that 4th down yesterday. When you put something out there and you're wrong.
Well, it doesn't. You weren't necessarily wrong about the 4th down.
No,
they could have gone and scored a touchdown there. Like
you raise your hand. I remember covering closers in baseball who they would give up the walk off. They would show up and they would say, "I threw a bad pitch." Right? I'm trying to do better next time. I made a bad pick.
Yeah, well, this is more about like we made a bet and people want to know the payoff.
I was very uncomfortable about $500. I was very uncomfortable about the bet. That was very clear there. I mean, I really felt like I was being bullied into submission. But we will talk about this. Would be a good thing for tomorrow's show. I do want to get this Sirianni
All right. Thank you to everybody for watching and listening. Thank you, Julia, for making that happen and gracing us with your appearance on the show. We will be back tomorrow at 2:00 with the Duff Man in studio to talk about everything that he saw with the eagle eye in the sky. I'll do it. We'll talk to you tomorrow. And as always, we love you.
We all silly like the mayor.